Now that we have a quorum, the committee will come to order and we will begin the executive session. Today we gather to first adopt the committee rules of procedure as well as subcommittee membership and jurisdiction. Second, we will then turn to the nomination of Scott Turner to be the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Ranking Member Warren and I will each make a statement before we vote. I recognize myself for an opening statement at that time, and then I will go to Ranking Member for her comments. With that, I move to approve in block by voice vote the committee's rules of procedure and the subcommittee membership and jurisdiction that have been agreed to with Ranking Member Warren. If there is no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The documents are approved and adopted in block. They will be reported favorably to the Senate floor. I ask unanimous consent that staff be allowed to make technical and conforming changes and that the cordon rule be waived. Any objection? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Now, we will move to the consideration of the nomination of Mr. Scott Turner. I move to favorably report the nomination of Mr. Scott to be Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Second.
At this point, I'll give an opening statement. At his inauguration, President Trump made a promise to the American people to usher in a new golden era of peace and prosperity. That starts with making America's economy work for everyday Americans. Today is a new day, and I look forward to closely partnering with the President to deliver real results for everyday Americans by building stronger communities where families can thrive and create a better, brighter future. It's time to undo the Biden administration's far-left policies and burdensome regulations that have put the American dream out of reach for millions of Americans. It's time for a blue-collar comeback. And the man who will be leading that comeback at the Department of Housing and Urban Development is Scott Turner, someone with a remarkable life story and the skill set necessary to enact change. Solving the problems before our country requires grit and determination. Whether as a young man working as a dishwasher at the Spring Creek barbecue, or the man who built a successful NFL career, Scott never let his circumstances define his capability to succeed. He works his hardest every single day to make opportunity a reality. We saw that when he was a state legislature in Texas and when he was leading the White House initiative on opportunity zones and economic opportunities. Scott believes in his community and improving the lives of those living there. For him, it's a calling, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. HUD's mission is to create strong and sustainable communities and support quality, affordable homes, serving the most vulnerable in our nation. Scott Turner's story and perspective are important tools that he brings to the table. Unfortunately, we are facing a housing crisis all across our country. HUD is failing at its core mission. Under the Biden administration, HUD spending has soared, but even according to their own surveys, homelessness in the last 12 months up 18%. Since 2020, up 33%. And we as a committee in a bipartisan fashion can work with HUD to tackle some of these lingering, stubborn problems facing millions of Americans today. It's our opportunity. Since President Biden took office, housing prices have soared over 150%. Rent up over 20%. Despite all the subsidies, all the trillions of dollars spent, not much has changed. Scott Turner believes that we need millions more homes of all kinds, single-family homes, apartments, condos, duplexes, and manufacturing housing. And I agree with him. Families need a roof over their heads and a place to call home. Scott Turner won't just focus on fixing what's broken. I know he will work hard to find innovative solutions, and I look forward to working with him on my road to housing legislation and opportunity zones. Under his leadership at the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, we saw more than $50 billion enter into majority-minority communities without gentrifying those communities, under 5% gentrification. Hope for a better future begins for millions of Americans with a home. And HUD has a critical and crucial role to play. Struggling to pay the rent is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. Struggling to afford groceries is not a Republican or Democrat issue. Struggling to keep the lights on is not a Republican or Democrat issue. For the millions of Americans who feel forgotten and left behind, you no longer have to carry that burden alone. I urge my Republican and Democrat colleagues on this committee to advance Scott Turner's nomination to the Senate floor. He is the solution we have been looking for to usher in the golden era of homeownership. Ranking Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your remarks. And Mr. Chairman, last week I told you and other members of this committee that I am willing and eager to work with you in a bipartisan way, and I think that's true for every single Democrat on this committee. I think one of the areas where we have a lot of room to work together is on efforts to bring down housing costs for American families. And we started that effort last week when the committee held its confirmation hearing for Scott Turner, President Trump's nominee, to head up the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I have some concerns about his nomination, but I was encouraged that Mr. Turner acknowledged that our housing supply crisis and his commitment to work together to address it. Our housing shortage is the single most important factor driving too high housing prices. And as I said in my opening statement last week, we are not building enough housing in this country, and that is one of the core reasons that housing prices are so high. So I came here prepared to be able to vote in favor of his nomination. And I appreciated his willingness to respond to my questions, to meet with me, ready to go. But, Mr. Chairman, we are missing one important piece of information for Mr. Turner, and we should not move forward without it. To date, neither you nor I have received Mr. Turner's FBI background check or had a chance to review it. Now, everyone must remember that if confirmed, Mr. Turner will serve as a member of President Trump's cabinet and be in the line of presidential succession. There is no reason to anticipate a problem, but it would be irresponsible for this committee to vote on a cabinet nominee without his background check. And it would not be consistent with committee precedent. The committee's customary practice, followed by both Republican and Democratic chairs, is to hold a vote on a nomination only after completion of the FBI background investigation and receipt of a briefing on it. Under Chairman Brown, nominees received a committee vote only after their background check was complete. We know that just in the past few days, including last night, that the Armed Services Committee, the Ag Committee, and the Veterans Affairs Committees have all put off holding hearings, not just final votes, but hearings on nominees because their FBI background checks were not complete. Now, we're not looking for a delay here. As soon as the FBI gets its act together and gets over here and tells us, and I understand from the chairman that that should be right away, as soon as we have that hearing and can get briefed on it, assuming there are no problems, we're ready to go forward. There are nominees already stacked up on the floor. We're not trying to delay this vote by a single minute, but we are in the minority and we are asking that for all of us, we have this baseline principle in this committee, as evidently it is recognized in other committees, and that is we don't go forward without the FBI background check. I am mystified as to why you would not agree to this delay. It need not be long. It serves both sides of the aisle, and the American people are served by knowing that that background check has been completed. Absent this background check, we simply do not have the information that is needed to go forward on this nominee. So I will be voting no, and I hope that with future nominees, you will adhere to committee precedent and the common sense practice and courtesy of ensuring that we have the full FBI background check for any nominee before we hold a committee vote.
Thank you, Ranking Member Warren. I'll just say a few things quickly. Number one, our committee does not require an FBI background check. Number two, as Ranking Member, I never received any information on anyone's background. Number three, CRAPO did not consistently receive information on backgrounds. Number four, Toomey used the background checks as a way to slow the majority, and I can certainly understand how that it could be weaponized. But number five, just today, I believe it was this morning, Energy and Natural Resources voted out Mr. Wright and Mr. Burgum without a background check, receiving 5 Democrat votes for Mr. Wright, 2 votes for Mr. Burgum by Democrats. I will say that if we want to, in the 120th Congress, change the rules so that they're consistently applied to all noms coming through the committee, we should do so. But we should have, I want to make sure that it's clear that we have not had a consistent application of any rules because our committee does not have rules, nor do we even have a formal process to receive the background check information by this committee.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kennedy?
Senator Warren's eloquence notwithstanding, I think we should back our chairman. We've never required a background check. We have had a background check. Mr. Turner's record demonstrates that he exercises power maturely. He does not act on the basis of appetite and ambition. He acts on the basis of knowledge and wisdom. He recognizes we have a housing crisis, and we do. 10 years ago, the average American first-time home buyer was 28. Today, it's 38. Unfortunately, the United States Congress and the federal government, though we think we do, we don't command the tides of housing. State and, more to the point, local government controls housing. We persist in giving state and local government mandates and telling them what to do. And they either don't do it or find ways not to do it because of their own peculiar and sometimes parochial politics. I'm going to repeat what I said to Mr. Turney when he was here. I think that we should, if we want more housing starts in America, we should set a reasonable goal for every state. I would want to do that with you. I don't know whether that's 3% or 5%. And we should turn to the states and say, we expect you to increase housing starts by 3% a year. If you don't, that's your call, but we will reduce your federal support proportionate to the amount below the 3%. If you will do it, we will increase your federal support by the amount you exceed 3%, and leave it to state and local government on how to do it. Carrot and stick. I think Mr. Turner understands that. To sum up, I think we ought to back our chairman. I'm not saying Senator Warren has any ill motive here, but this will delay us. We need to get started. We need housing in America, and I think our chairman has laid out the very solid reasons why we should go forward today.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know the actual procedures of the committee, not having been chair or ranking member. I do know on other committees where we do require an FBI background check. It is my understanding that the FBI has 14 days to do a background check. In many cases, and again, who knows what happened during the transition, many of these nominees, the FBI was not even started until early January. I don't know any information on Mr. Turner. I don't think it would cause an undue delay. I don't know how many days are left. I agree with a lot of what Senator Kennedy just said, and you said, Mr. Chairman, Senator Warren said, and I'm wide open to supporting Mr. Turner. But I don't think this is an unreasonable request, and again, you have the majority, but I think we're going to miss an opportunity to frankly have a broad bipartisan vote of support for Mr. Turner by rushing this out of the committee this day. But I just wanted to have you hear my view.
Thank you. Ms. Tillis?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm trying to reconcile what I think are two opposing positions between you and Senator Warren. So I'm just trying to sort this out. I thought I heard Senator Warren say that this is a break of precedent and that it has not been done this way or it has been done more consistently in the past. I thought what I heard you say was that Senator Crapo and others before you all have not necessarily had the FBI report in the banking committee. Which of the two are true, or how can we sort through and make sure that both of you are, I'm just trying to get to the facts. And I think right now we have mutually opposing views.
So I think the easiest way to say it is that as the ranking member for the last 2 years, I was never informed of any background checks whatsoever. I would say under Crapo, he can speak for himself, but it was at best inconsistent in its application and the actual receipt.
So are you departing from a rule or a practice by allowing this vote today?
I am not.
And Senator Warren, do you believe that the chair is departing from a rule or past practice by allowing this vote today?
I do.
Based on?
I do, because in every single case, the FBI report was available. It was complete. It was available. Now, I don't know about the relationship between people. I wasn't there. But anyone who requested it, the ranking member or the chair, could see it. But the report was always consistently available, and it is, I am told, that was not just true when the Democrats were in charge. It was also true when the Republicans were in charge.
Mr. Chair, what I think you indicated openness to maybe being clear on the rules going forward.
Yes.
And that is something that I would support. To Senator Warner's point, because this vote will be going some number of days into probably next week, it seems to me that the FBI report will be available to everybody before the actual confirmation vote will occur. So I would hope that members who are inclined to vote for him today would vote him out of committee with the proviso that if they don't see the report by the time it's on the floor, that you simply vote no. And then we can have a different discussion about practice in the committee. But it seems to me that you could have access to the information by the time it occurs. If you were satisfied with what Mr. Turner said today and you think he's qualified for the role, I really encourage your support and respect your position that you won't vote favorably on the floor if they fail to produce that information before the vote.
Well, may I respond? I just want to say here, it is the job of the committee to say to the rest of the Senate, we did our work. We checked off the boxes, we had our hearing, we sent the questions, we did the questions, we got the answers, we got the background check. We have, it really is, we're talking about a kind of box checking exercise here.
Yeah, but Mr. Chair, just again, if I can just.
Was I still talking?
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, I was not. I think that this is our job as the committee, and saying we may change our vote once we get to the floor is not exercising our responsibilities on this committee.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Respectfully, Senator Warren, I have not heard that this is a departure from practice, or no evidence has been presented to suggest that it was. What I have heard is an openness on the part of the chair, and I would support a rule going forward that says that we won't vote out of committee until the FBI report is there. But I think we're creating a precedent out of whole cloth, and that's why I'm prepared to vote. And I would encourage the administration to get the FBI report there before final passage.
Well, I would say by way of response, I'm happy to go get the evidence that the FBI reports were always there before we voted. We can go back and document that if that's the wish of the committee, and if the committee wants to hold off the vote until we have that, I'm glad to do that.
Two things. Two things. Number one, the first thing that's really important to note is that this committee does not require an FBI background check. And number two, the only two people that have access to the information of the background check is the chairman and the vice chairman. Therefore, if the previous chairman never acknowledged, informed, or told the ranking member that there was even a background check to take a look at, that is why the ranking member today, or yesterday, did not know about it whatsoever, and it is also why perhaps the previous ranking members, Crapo and Toomey, did not have full access to what she is saying is somehow a consistent practice. It is just not the fact. Last comment, and then we're going to vote.
I just would be curious when the 2-week clock started, so that if the FBI report was due, and I agree that it's just the chair and the vice chair, it's not members. I think that's appropriate because I've seen these reports; they're quite detailed. But if the clock had started and the FBI is due to get their report in by today or tomorrow, I think we're going to be here tomorrow. Again, I'm going to, unfortunately, I hear Senator Tillis, your position. I do think it's our responsibility. I will vote no. I'll reconsider on the floor. But I would think we could have had a broader bipartisan vote out of the committee, and particularly if the FBI report is actually due today or tomorrow. But again, just wanted to leave that for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
I think
do you want to move on?
I just want us to go vote, and then we'll have plenty of time for comments. The clerk will call the vote. Call the roll.
Mr. Chairman. Aye. Mr. Crapo. Aye. Mr. Rounds. Aye. Mr. Tillis. Aye. Mr. Kennedy. Aye. Mr. Haggerty. Aye. Ms. Lummis.
Aye.
Mrs. Brett. Aye. Mr. Ricketts. Aye. Mr. Banks. Yes. Mr. Kramer. Aye. Mr. Moreno. Mr. McCormick? Aye. Ms. Warren?
No.
Mr. Reed? No. Mr. Warner?
No.
Mr. Van Hollen?
No.
Ms. Cortez Masto?
No.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Mr. Warnock?
No.
Mr. Kim?
No.
Mr. Gallego?
No.
Ms. Blunt Rochester? No. Ms. Also Brooks? No. Mr. Chairman, the vote is 13 in favor, 11 opposed.
The nomination of Mr. Scott Turner is hereby ordered reported favorably to the full Senate. Thank you to everyone. Any parting comments? Meeting adjourned.